Welcome, everybody. Super excited to have you here. So we are here today for harnessing the power of AI in product management. My colleague John Haggerty is going to be sharing. By the way, am Holly Hester Riley. I'm the founder of the Product Science Group, and super excited to have John here today to tell us more about AI in product management. We do have this going both in Zoom and in LinkedIn. If you do type any comments or questions on LinkedIn, we will get those. There may be a slight delay because there's a little time lag, but we will be sure to answer questions. And we have given those of you who are on Zoom the ability to actually talk. So we'd love for people to type in comments and ask us questions as we go through.
Holly, the chat might still be disabled. Can you double check on that? But
yes.
If you are able to chat, let me know by just putting, some type of message in there, a hello or where you're from, something like that. It just helps us understand what's going on, and make sure that everything's working. But otherwise, should we get started?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
All right. Thanks everyone for coming. As Holly said, my name is John Haggerty. I'm absolutely thrilled to spend this afternoon, this morning, this evening, depending where you are in the world, with you talking about the exciting world of artificial intelligence and how it is really being transformative in its impact on product management and how we are going about things. Want to set the stage for our journey together. We're going to dig into what is a really rapidly evolving digital age. AI is no longer a futuristic concept. It is a present-day reality that is reshaping industries and redefining how we approach product management. As PMs and product leaders, we are in a really unique opportunity, or we have a really unique opportunity, I guess, to harness the power of AI and drive innovation, efficiency, customer satisfaction, all to new heights in the value that we are delivering. Over this webinar, I want to be able to explore the fundamentals of AI, its application in providing product feedback analysis, churn prevention and retention, as well as discuss some of the ethical considerations that must be in place to guide our efforts. By the end of this time, I hope you'll have a deeper understanding of how to leverage AI to enhance your product management strategies and really help you stay ahead of the curve. All right, proverbial slide with pictures and logos on it. My name is John Haggerty, as I said before. I've spent the past 2 decades leading product initiatives across various industries. I'm currently the founder of the PM Insider, where I'm doing coaching and advising specifically for product managers and for organizations looking to leverage AI. I'm an instructor at Gigantic, where I'm teaching courses on how to be a PM for an AI product. And I've recently joined forces with Holly and the Product Science Group, helping coach organizations and product leaders through digital transformations. But that's me in a nutshell. Let's dive in here with a little bit about understanding AI. And we're going to take a step back, kind of look at a big picture. This is my favorite question to ask people right now. And it is, what is AI? How would you define it? Holly, since you're here, I'm going to actually ask you first. What's your definition of AI?
Oh, gee, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I think of AI as artificial intelligence tools that do things for us that we used to think computers couldn't do. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
You're going to go with that. All right. Does anyone who's on Zoom want to come off mute and share their definition of AI? You're more than welcome. I'll give anyone a chance here if they want to. All right. It is my favorite question to ask right now. It's such a fun conversation to have because there's different thoughts, different understandings, different ideas around it. It is really a great thing to ask with your stakeholders and your business partners to really help understand where they're coming from. What I will say is, to me, AI at its core, or AI, let's put it this way, the definition I have right there. Artificial intelligence is the multidisciplinary branch of science and engineering that is dedicated to creating systems capable of performing tasks that would normally require human level intelligence. At the very core, AI is about replicating and augmenting the cognitive abilities that we as humans possess. This includes reasoning, problem solving, learning, perception, language understanding, just to name a few. By harnessing the powers of advanced algorithms, vast data sets, and ever-increasing computing power, these AI systems can process information, recognize patterns, and make decisions in ways that mimic and even in some cases surpass our human capabilities. So at its core, AI is the science behind making machines smarter. The impact of AI is already being felt across a wide range of industries, from healthcare and finance to retail, manufacturing, and transportation. AI-driven solutions are rapidly transforming how we diagnose diseases, detect fraud, personalize recommendations, optimize supply chains, and heck, even navigate our cities with autonomous vehicles. But this is really just the beginning. Accenture's estimated that AI will double annual economic growth rates by 2035. PwC projects that AI will contribute a staggering 15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030. Those numbers should underscore the immense potential of AI in its role as a major driver in economic growth and transformation. We as product people have a unique opportunity right now to leverage AI and drive innovation within our organizations. AI is already revolutionizing how we approach product development, customer experience, and our operational efficiencies. One of the most powerful applications of AI in product management lies in the realm of large language models. Tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity's Claude are becoming increasingly prevalent and their ability to understand and generate human-like text has the potential to transform various aspects of our work. The ability to effectively communicate with these models, though, is key to unlocking their full potential. That's where the art of prompt engineering comes into play. The quality of our prompts, the very instructions that we provide to these language models, directly impact the usefulness and relevance of that AI-generated content. The way I talk about dealing with these large language models is to think about them as if they were an intern. These are the better, the clearer your instructions are about what the work that needs to be done is, what the output you're looking for, and how it's going to go about it is extremely important and will result in more well-refined and better outputs at the end. So how do we go about that? Prompt engineering involves an iterative process where you have both prompt writing and prompt testing. It can be done individually, but honestly, when you're working with a product team, I suggest doing it as a team effort. The goal here is to gain experience in creating effective prompts that will guide your chosen LLM to generate the desired output. Prompt engineering is going to become an essential skill for product managers looking to harness the power of AI within their work. So let's dive into the two primary parts of this iterative process. To get started, let's choose a common scenario, or just pick one in your mind, hold it there. For example, you may want to use an AI to help generate a requirements document, or analyze customer reviews for key insights, or create a press release for a new product launch. The possibilities are endless here. Pick one, hold that in your mind. Once you've selected that scenario, your next step is to write a prompt for your selected large language model. This is where the magic starts. Your prompt should be tailored to the specific task at hand, should provide clear instructions and clear context, like you were giving information to an intern or someone who's entry level to help them understand where you want to go, what you want to accomplish, and why you need it. The more specific and well-defined your prompt is, the more relevant and accurate the AI-generated output will be. There are different techniques you can choose to leverage when you're looking to deploy your prompt. Depends on the complexity of the task at hand, the available data. Let's review the 3 most common techniques. First is zero-shot prompting. This is where you give a large language model a task without any prior examples or context. The model will rely solely on its pre-existing knowledge of the information provided in the prompt to generate its response. This is a great starting point for you to go through. Great example here, generate 5 potential names for a new productivity app targeting freelancers. The next step up is what's called a few-shot prompt. With this technique, you provide the model with a small number of examples, usually less than 10, to illustrate the task at hand and where you want to go. These examples serve as a guide for the model, helping it understand the context and generate responses that align with the task's requirement. For example, here, I'm putting here, writing a user story. I give an example, I give the format that I want it to come out in, and I give it the goal of creating 3 examples for me. Finally, there is chain of thought prompting. This technique encourages the large language model to break down a complex problem into a series of intermediate reasoning steps. You provide examples that include the step-by-step explanations. The model then learns to generate a chain of thought before arriving at the final answer, often leading to more accurate results. A better way to put it, you're giving the system time to think, and you're going to get a better result for this. Example here, I'm talking about breaking down a large task here, providing steps here. List all the proposed features, evaluate each feature for its potential impact, assess the implementation difficulty, consider user demand, rank them based off of those factors. I'm giving it the specific steps I want it to go through to get to a reasoned result. Each of these techniques do have their advantages and can be used depending on the task's complexity, the data you have available. My recommendation, experiment with prompt engineering, and you'll develop a feel for which technique works best in which scenario. But now that we've written out your prompt, we need to test it and find out how well it works. So that's where you go to a tool like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude Opus or Gemini or Copilot, whatever one you want to choose to go with. There are a number out there. I recommend, don't be afraid to experiment with different tools and compare the results. Find out which tool works best for what specific task you're trying to accomplish. This hands-on experience becomes invaluable when building your prompt engineering skills and building an understanding of which models to choose for which task. Once you have that AI-generated output, you need to take time then to evaluate the quality and the relevance of your results. Ask yourself, does the output address the key points outlined in your prompt? Is the information accurate and insightful? Is the format and the structure easy to understand and actionable? This is where we get to the trust but verify. You want the system to give you information but you need to go back and double check, did it actually work? Did it do what I expected to do? Does it pass the smell test? If your output doesn't quite hit the mark, don't worry. Prompt engineering is an iterative process. Note the areas for improvement. Refine your prompt accordingly. You might need to clarify your instructions or provide additional examples or break down that task into smaller subprompts. Experiment with the different prompt engineering techniques we talked about and see what yields the best results. The key is to approach prompt engineering with an iterative mindset. Embrace the process of continuous improvement and learning, just like we do with product development. With each iteration, your prompt will become more effective and the AI-generated outputs will become more valuable. As you refine your prompts, take a step back though, and reflect on the insights and takeaways as you go through that process. What worked well? What challenges did you encounter? How can you apply prompt engineering to streamline your product management work? Where can you try another experiment? Where else might it work? Remember, this is becoming a critical skill if we're getting the most out of these large language models that are becoming tools for us in our everyday work. Well-crafted prompts provide clear guidance and context. This leads to higher quality outputs. By iterating on your prompts based on your results, you can fine-tune the performance and really unlock the full potential of those large language models in your workflows. Great. Now
Hey,
you give
John,
me, yes,
when you have a second, we do have a question that someone
sure.
asked, I thought I would pop in with. For the few shot prompts, does it over index on the examples that you give it? And how do you make sure that it's using the examples only for guidance?
Yes, that is where you need to review what's happening. Yes, it is going to over index on those, on what you're giving it. But that is what you need. You need to figure that into the results that you're going to have. And that's why you're not going to get it right in your first attempt. It's going to be the subsequent attempts and clarifying how you want it to leverage that information. By seeing how it over indexed, you're going to be able to come back and make adjustments and give a better understanding around it. That's why I like using, personally for me, I'd say about 80% of my prompts are written in a chain of thought, and I'm breaking it down into individual steps, and I'm telling the system how I want to go about it. So I say it's like working with an intern. When I work with interns in the past, and when I go through that process, I want to break down with them. Here's what I want you to go. Here's what I want you to do. Here's why I want you to do it, and here's how I think you should go about doing it. And breaking it down for the steps. Then I'm able to look at their process and where they're going about it to really help them understand what's needed and where you want to go. You go back to a few shot prompt. If I give an example to an intern, I expect them to use that in a way to go forward. It's going to become their predominant information that they rely on for making their decisions and their information about what is needed in their decision-making process. I would expect nothing less from an LLM. So it needs to become part of how you construct it and what you expect in the end result. But again, your first attempt isn't going to be ideal. You're going to need to refine, you're going to need to practice, you're going to need to just adjust that and go forward. If you're running into the problem where it's still remembering what you wrote the first time and you get the writing aspect, jump to a different large language model, write a new thread, start over. Those are things that you can do to help learn, to help move forward.
Awesome. I have another question for you, John, related to these different prompts. So you talked about the chain of thought prompt method. Is that something where in practice, when you're doing it, do you submit all with one, entry, the whole set of steps? And then if you realize you need to change it, do you have to resubmit the whole set of steps?
For some of them, yes. For
Okay.
others, no. I have one that I work out that I use for, so when I'm doing a presentation, I gave a keynote last week on stakeholder management. And with that, I actually created the deck, but then I wanted to create a script for myself off of that deck. The chain of thought prompting for that process was 10 individual, actually it was 12 individual prompts that were chained out to get to where I would have a script that I can then actually feed into another AI to voice generate it, and then I can listen to it like a podcast. That's how I like to memorize and learn things. But for me, that one was so large, I wanted to break it down into individual parts. Each of those was in itself so it was chain of thought within chain of thought, and be able to break that down. So I wanted to look at individual tasks separated out that way. So if I ran into an issue, yes, I could come back to it. But other ones, and you'll see in my examples here in a little bit, you could send larger ones through a process, especially when you're looking at things like doing a qualitative analysis where you want quantitative analysis, when you want specific analysis to be done on the data, and in order to get to your end results, you can line them up and have them back to back.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Awesome. All right. Great theory. We've talked about the prompt. We've talked about AI. We've talked about prompt engineering. Now, how do we put it into practice? So one of the most valuable resources we as product people have is our customer feedback. It provides us with a direct window into our users' minds. We can use the power of AI to really revolutionize how we analyze and leverage this feedback. So customer feedback is a gold mine for insights around how we want to improve the product, where we need to make changes, what's working, what's not working. It provides an unfiltered perspective of the product experience. It highlights our issues, the unmet needs, and the opportunities for innovation. But it's unfiltered, it's unstructured. Analyzing user sentiment for reoccurring issues, feature requests is a deep dive into data that can be really time consuming. Manually reading through thousands of reviews, support tickets, survey responses can be, besides being time consuming, it can be prone to human error and bias. So what can we do about it? This is where I think AI-driven feedback analysis tools, or just creating the prompts to do that, can be a game changer. By leveraging natural language processing techniques, these tools can effectively process vast amounts of unstructured text data, such as user reviews, support tickets, using sentimental analysis algorithms. We can gauge the emotional polarity of feedback, classifying it either as positive, negative, or neutral. This quantification of sentiment allows us to track user satisfaction trends over time in identifying areas of concerns. We can also use things like topic modeling techniques. This is things like latent Dirichlet allocation, LDA, or non-negative matrix factorization, NMF, where we can automatically discover and group common themes within feedback data. This enables us to surface the most prevalent issues, feature requests, and areas of interest for our users. Things like aspect-based sentiment analysis can take things even a step further by analyzing sentiment at an even more granular level, focusing on specific aspects of our product. This could be things like ease of use, battery life, customer service. This level of detail can help us prioritize improvements based on aspects with the most negative sentiment. Things like named entity recognition algorithms can be used to identify mentions of specific features or products or companies within feedback data. This can allow us to link individual product components, servicing both the positive and the negative feature mentions that would be in that unstructured data. By leveraging these different AI techniques, we can really gain a comprehensive understanding of our users' pains, where the pain points exist, what are their ultimate desires, and this would enable us to make more data-informed decisions, prioritizing our product roadmaps more efficiently. So how do we go about doing that? Here's a simple use case. We've collected so we'll put it this way. Imagine you're a product manager working on a mobile banking app. You've collected a wealth of customer feedback from various sources. This could include App Store reviews, Net Promoter Score survey responses, and customer support tickets. Your goal is to leverage a large language model to analyze this feedback to identify the top pain points along with their root cause. By understanding these most pressing issues faced by your customers, you can then create a prioritized list of improvements and deliver a better user experience overall and more value. So how would we go about doing that? Here's an example of an initial few-shot prompt that I wanted to lay out to give an example of how to structure a prompt for this. So we want to define the desired output. In this case, we want the AI to, one, identify the top pain points, and two, determine the root cause for each of those. With these objectives in mind, we've crafted this prompt, and we are attempted to be both clear and specific. This prompt opens with understanding the task at hand, analyzing the user feedback, and the context. It's a mobile banking app. We provided the data set, followed by the overall objective of identifying those top 3 pain points to determine the likely root cause of each. Finally, we provided a desired output here. This prompt outlines our expectations. It provides a structured format for the output. But do we think this is going to succeed? I would like to see some feedback in chat or questions here about comments about why we don't think this is going to work. What's the problem here with this initial draft? Anyone have thoughts? Well, for me, there's a couple of things here. One, I'm not giving any information on what is a pain point, any context around that. How is it going to rank these? How is it going to score these? Does the model know how to identify a root cause? No, it's going to use its own context and understand that and figure that out in and of itself. Yes, it is very generalized. This is a great starting point to get an understanding of how to structure it, of where you want to go, and maybe give some directional information. So we've got this. We want to input our prompt with a sample set of customer feedback into a tool like, let's say ChatGPT in this case, and evaluate the quality of the output and see where we want to go from here. So here's the results we got back. As you can see, the tool did identify our desired number of pain points. It provided a somewhat detailed root cause analysis for each one. You see the examples here. We want to assess this, and we want to ask ourselves, does this pass the smell test? Did the pain points it identify appear to be relevant and insightful? Does it demonstrate a deep understanding of the data that was provided to it? These likely will fall short because of the prompt we use. We need to take time now to consider how we want to make a better prompt. I've said, this is an iterative process. We need to keep going through this. So I've created another prompt here. We'll follow up again. We want to make a more targeted approach here. We are asking the AI to provide a description of the pain point now, give us a little more detail, We need to look at the likely root cause to look for specific problems, and we want to ask for potential solutions here. Again, we're relying on the large language model to understand the context, to understand what this looks like and where things are going. This is a decent prompt. Some kind of things that I would like to change on this if I were to go forward with it. I'd like to see suggestions in the chat. If people have other ideas, but the things I'm thinking of is I want to quote. I want to take out and find a specific example of where that pain point came from. I want to be able to start telling a story around it. I may want to provide some understanding of why they're ranked. Why is it 1, 2, and 3? Where's that looking? Where's that fall in the grand scope of the users? Are we talking like it's a very painful for a small set of users, or it's a moderate pain for a larger set of users? Giving some understanding of where that looks at. I see here, what would be a recommended success criteria? If I were to fix this, what would I look at for my my key results and my success criteria around making an improvement there? Yeah, I really wanted understanding of what would happen if I were to make changes to this, and where we want to go. But I also want to be able to start looking at things like the things on the storytelling side, how I get my stakeholders behind me and want to make that change. But we'll take this one, let's put it through a system, see what we need to get. So we run it through the system again, we get another result. Again, you see trial, error, iterative development here to get us to the best point for what we are trying to create. We do have we do have improvements here in the quality and the usefulness of our insights. We do have the information we've asked for, but can we make this better? Can we improve it? How do we improve it? And taking those actionable steps. This is why I also suggest bringing in your engineers, bringing in UX, bringing in your data scientists. If you're working in a team with a data scientist, bringing those people in to have the conversations around how I structured this. What are their concerns? What would be their thoughts? What would they want to put in there? And bringing those different worldviews will help you create a better, more refined, more well-rounded prompt as you're trying to dig into that information. One thing I can say is not all of you are going to be able to go out and grab your customer data and feed it into a large language model. And you'll be able to, InfoSec might not be too happy about that. What I do say is take a chance of going out to like a Kaggle who have a lot of user data, a lot of information there. You can go to look at, there's other data sources out there as well. Find data that you are able to play with. It's not your data that is available. It's anonymized or it's generic. It's, just pretend data and play with it. Try it. I worked with, I was doing a hands-on course with this. It's a half-day version of this. And part of what I do is actually give the participants a data from a web crawler that goes out and pulls down all of the App Store reviews for ChatGPT's iOS app. And they do the same type of experiment to pull out actionable insights from that data. Well, they're doing this in like probably 5 to 10 minutes. And they're using the system to review about 750,000 rows of data. So it's extremely powerful. You can get through things quickly. Do you have a couple questions that came in as well? One is, how will the AI come up with the root cause? Is it the data or is it just inferred through the LLM? It is actually both. It is going to take the context and understanding of what is a root cause and look at the data to try and infer out of it what may be driving that problem, what may be the underlying cause of that. and it's going to be able to give you information. Sorry, someone didn't catch the data source I mentioned. It's Kaggle, Kaggle, I think is the correct spelling of it. It's a website that's got a bunch of data sets out there. They actually have a bunch of models as well. If you want to get into building your working on AI models and doing the development around it, great place to start playing and experimenting and learning how to use these. One other question that came in is, how do you deal with poor descriptive user tickets? I'm sorry, it's the garbage in, garbage out. The underlying value of the insights you're going to get come from the value of the ticket that you are providing. What I recommend is that goes into the world of stakeholder management, working with the teams who are creating those tickets and help them understand the reason of creating important tickets and where you want to go with it. All right. I'm going to move on to the next section. Please keep the questions coming in because this is a great conversation. I love the thoughts that are coming out of this. Churn prediction and retention. Want to make sure we're all on the same page of what churn is. And so customer churn is the rate at which customers stop doing business with your company or your product or your app, whatever you want to, over a defined period of time. For me, and I think for a lot of people, this is the metric that keeps us up at night, and for good reason. The cost of customer churn can be staggering. High churn rates lead to significant loss in revenue, it reduces profitability. Studies have shown that acquiring a new customer is 5 to 25 times more than retaining an existing one. Conversely, increasing customer retention by as little as 5% can increase overall profits of 25 to 95%. But the impact of churn goes beyond the immediate financial losses. It also damages brand reputation and customer lifetime value, or LTV. Unhappy customers who churn may leave negative reviews. This could deter potential prospects from engaging with you on your product. Moreover, churn reduces the revenue that could have been earned from a loyal long-term customer. This is why proactively identifying and engaging at-risk users before they churn is crucial. Early warning signs of churn are often evident in our user behaviors well before they actually leave. We can detect these early signs, and we have a window of opportunity to intervene, and we can address those issues and prevent that user from churning. So how can we use AI to predict and prevent churn? Let's look at a few key data elements and techniques here that can be used to prevent, or that can be used for AI-powered churn prediction models. First, firmographic data can provide valuable context about our users. Things like age, gender, location, company size, industry can influence churn propensity. By incorporating this information into the models that are used, we can identify segments more prone to churn and tailor our retention strategies accordingly. Usage patterns and engagement metrics are also critical for predictors of churn. Users who exhibit a declining frequency of use, shorter session duration, or reduced depth of engagement are often at higher risk of churning. AI models can analyze these behavior patterns to flag users showing signs of disengagement or lower engagement. Customer service or customer support interactions with sentiment analysis of that user feedback can also yield valuable churn signals. a sudden spike in support tickets, negative sentiment in reviews or NPS responses, or a drop in a CSAT score can be indicators of potential churn. Finally, billing and payment data can provide insights into users' likelihood to churn. Factors like declined payments, late payments, downgrades to lower tiers can suggest a heightened risk of attrition. So what do you do with that information or with that data? We can now look at different techniques to build a model that could support us and understand where we want to go. So if you look at clustering algorithms, this would include like k-means or hierarchical clustering. You can segment users based on behavior patterns and churn risk. This can identify distinct groups of users with similar characteristics that we can develop target retention strategies for each of those segments. Great example of this, when I was at my at a previous company, we were looking at the frequency of usage for our B2B platform we were offering. Most users we were finding, our core users were using us on a frequency of about 3 to 5 times over a 28-day period. Or another way to put it is once a week. Those were ended up being our core users. And so we saw a curve when we looked at a histogram from 0 1 day per month up, spiking around 4 and 5, and then it dripped off. And what we saw is the long tail out to about 28 days, 30 days, but there was a blip on the charting right around 20 days, between 19 and 22. That told us that we had a set of power users who were using us every business day of the month. And so we developed a set of our power users every weekday, our core users once a week, and then our casual users were once or twice a month. And we were able to understand. And what we saw was if somebody drifted from a power user to a core user or a core user to a casual user, they had a higher likelihood of churn. We look at natural language processing now to be able to analyze the sentiment topics within those support tickets and the user reviews. We've already talked about how to do that, the different ways here, but we can identify common issues or frustrations that may be driving churn, looking for keywords that could jump out, that would be put them where we would want to put them in a retention pipeline. Using things like deep learning neural networks, particularly here we're talking recurrent neural networks or RNNs or convolutional neural networks, are really well suited for modeling high dimensional time series data. These architectures can capture complex patterns and dependencies in user behavior over time, enabling for more accurate churn predictions. That same company where I talked about we were having the usage, we were able to model out how we looked at their onboarding flow to set them up for success. And it was really complicated. And we need to look at users doing a set of 5 actions out of a total of 9. Any 5 of those 9 within the first 2 weeks, they were set up for success and long-term retention. But to be able to get there, we actually had to develop our own CNN to be able to understand what that data was saying underneath it. Ideally, my recommendation, if you are able to, is creating an ensemble model, combining multiple algorithms, multiple models. These are often used to create the most robust and accurate churn predictions. They can leverage the strengths of the different techniques, and ensemble models really provide a more reliable and stable prediction. So how do we do this? How do you get started? What do you want to look at? And this is where you can start playing with it, start writing a prompt, help you get some understanding. The scenario here is you've been tasked really with identifying leading indicators of user retention for a mobile fitness app. Our objective is really to understand which user actions within that first week of using the app are most strongly correlated with long-term retention, defined here as being active 3 months after sign-up. So we have a data set. It contains the user activity logs, their corresponding 3-month retention status. And our goal is to use a large language model to build a model that can help us predict the likelihood of a user from a reserved set of non-training data, what their likelihood of them being retained or churned based off of their early engagement patterns. So how would you start structuring that? Ideally, you just start with writing a simple prompt. It's a paragraph here of giving the system an understanding of where we want to go. I want to remind you, the quality of the prompt will directly impact the usefulness of those AI-generated insights. What I want to lay out here is, first and foremost, giving context of what we are going, of where we are going. We're asking the system to understand that it is working as a data analyst for a mobile fitness app, giving both the role and the company here. Giving it a clear objective, identify the leading indicators of 3-month user retention for that app based off of first week data usage. We give it the data set, we let it know what that data set is. We look for desired output here. So this is really a exploratory data analysis, an EDA, looking to understand the data set from the user behavior patterns and the data table action. And the result is here, we want a data table where we can look at the results, sort it by some type of correlation coefficient. To me, this is a good starting point and really get an understanding that the system can read the data, it can understand it, it has some insight, some understanding of what's being presented. I think I'm going to get an actionable insights from this. Probably not, but I'm going to be able to understand whether or not what I'm providing can get to that understanding. So once I have this and I insert it into the system, or input into the system, I now want to take a chance to understand the outputs. Did we have accurate and relevant analysis in that exploratory data analysis, in that EDA? How appropriate were the techniques that the system itself selected for this problem? How clear and how understandable was the results? Did it have high interpretability? Is what I want to say there. How actionable and insightful were those results? When I look at this evaluation, I can then start identifying how I want to improve that prompt. I might want to do things like redefine my instructions, provide more context. I may want to specify the desired output more clearly to the system. This is where I can really start taking those next steps. Now that I know the system can understand the data, it can go forward. So how would I do that? This is a really good example of a chain of thought prompt here. I am asking this, I'm giving again the system of a context, where it wants to go, what we want to do, why we want to accomplish it, what's the data I'm giving it, where we want to go. Now I'm also asking it to take specific analysis. I want to use a Pearson correlation coefficient to look at that information. I want to do PPV, positive predictive values. I want to do negative predictive values. Then I want to build a specific data set. With that also, I'm asking for it to provide me with text around what those results are. One thing I want to lay out here is I'm asking it to do the text after it's created the data and the table. The order of operation is extremely important when working with large language models. If I'm asking it to create, the example I can say is, if I'm asking it to help me write an email, I'm going to actually ask it to outline the email first, then draft it, then write the subject. Because once an LLM puts text or information on the screen, once it starts writing, it's locked in. It's not going to go back and edit and change that and rewrite it. If it writes the subject first, everything is going to be driven off of that subject versus the content driving the subject. Think of it if you're writing an essay. You outline your essay first and then you write it and then you give it a title. You want to think about laying it out in that same way, that same format of how you want to go about it. And that's why I put the structure in here and how I asked the system to go through this. Once I have these results, and after iterating on this prompt, we need to assess and look at, was the data analysis and the calculations correct? Were they insightful? Did it actually follow the specific structure and format that I directed it to? Was the quality of the model interpretations correct? Was it good? Did it pass the smell test? Was it able to identify top predictors? How relevant and practical were those recommendations that were given for user retention? When I feed in another set of data to it, a reserved set for testing, what did that look like for false positives, false negatives, and being able to look at how well that model could work then in the future? By iterating on your prompts and really critically evaluating those insights, we can arrive at a robust, actionable model within an LLM that we can use going forward. So, quick reflection here on this. One, prompt engineering needs to be an iterative process. Absolutely has to require testing, evaluation, redefining to elicit the most useful insights from any model that we're using. Clearly defining the objective, the data set, the desired output format in a prompt can guide an AI to generate relevant, structured insights. I know we're getting close on time here. I do want to hit on ethics because anyone who knows me knows I always talk about the ethical importance of AI. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of ethical AI development, including strategies for mitigating bias, ensuring fairness, and building trust with our users and our stakeholders. AI systems are not inherently objective or neutral. They can reflect the biases in the training data, the design choices, and societal biases as a whole. If left unchecked, these biases will lead to unintended consequences and cause real harm in the real world. It will perpetuate discrimination. It can violate privacy. It can erode the public trust in the underlying technology. We as product people, we are obligated to develop ethical AIs and deploy them responsibly. We must consider the societal impacts on our product, not just the business metrics. Unfortunately, we already have examples of AI bias that have already surfaced across various industries, whether it's the Compass recidivism model for criminal justice that was found to discriminate against Black and brown defendants, or Amazon's hiring algorithm that exhibit bias against women and who attended women-only post-secondary education. These examples should serve as a stark reminder of the real-world consequences of biased AI systems and underscore the importance of proactively addressing ethical concerns from the beginning, from the inception. It cannot be an afterthought. So, here are 6 steps which I want to recommend for you each to look at, consider taking action on. Where we want to go about this: 1, ensure diverse and representative training data is in place. 2, we need to implement fairness and bias testing. We need to prioritize transparency and explainability with our systems. We have to keep the human in the middle and maintain human oversight and accountability. We need to practice inclusive design and user testing. And we need to establish governance structures and ethical reviews from the beginning. as I said, it cannot be an afterthought. We need to have these in place to mitigate bias and unethical AI from the beginning. That's what I've got today. So thank you all for your participation, for your engagement today. Just, I love this topic. I love talking about it. Please stay curious, get out there and play, use the technology, explore, take advantage of those systems, of the data sets that you can use to just get your hands dirty. And for anyone who wants to follow up with this is the place you can go. Holly, what do you want to say here at the end?
Yeah, thank you so much, John. That was awesome, really helpful. So if you haven't already, sign up for the Product Science Group newsletter, productsciencegroup.com/newsletter. And the Product Science Group provides consulting and training services. So come to us for that. We do coaching as well, but we really want to share on this topic that John does coaching. So
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Please, reach out to me on LinkedIn or on my website or through Holly. If you've got questions, you want follow-ups. This is such a great topic, and there's always more to talk about and never enough time.
I do think we got 2 questions in from LinkedIn that maybe we can answer real quick. So one person wanted to know, what is the best way to provide a data set? Like, in what form do you share the data set itself when you're writing these prompts?
If I can't share it directly, like linking the system, honestly, I just pull down a CSV and I ask it to read it and let me know what it's seeing in that data set. That's one of the best ways to start with, is just a CSV. And then asking it to give you a context of what's in that data set. And then the system is able to read it and understand it.
Great. And the last question is, can you recommend some of the best tools that are out there right now?
Oh, I'm biased here. I really like using Perplexity and their Pro model. The reason for that is, one, they have chain of thought prompting built into Pro. It asks questions and you see it. And if there's something it needs more clarity on, it'll actually stop and ask you a clarifying question. 2, I also get access to a number of models. I think there's 7 or so, which include OpenAI, it includes Anthropic's, it includes Meta's Llama, directly from them, and the different submodels within there as well that I can bounce between with just with 2 clicks of the mouse to flip which model I'm running a question versus if I want it redone.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Thanks, John. And we will post this video on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, you can search for the Product Science Group, and the video will be posted there. And thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. We'll end it there.
It says it stopped just before the